All right, good evening, everybody. We will just get started in 1 minute. I just have to pack up some of my work stuff and then we will be on our way. Here's a little look at the office here. Corey is here. Good to see you, my friend. So we have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about EY today. They are going through their split up. We're also going to be talking about the one and only ECB, European Central Bank, with Christine Lagarde. And Chovy, good to see you. Melee, Matthew P, Vinny Castellano. Good to see everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. We started in 1 second. So is this a furniture store? It kind of looks like it, doesn't it? It's my office, though. The WeWork. Here, I'll show you guys a quick little view out the window here. So this is the one on 28th Street. And we are actually located right above the Whole Foods here. So you can see Whole Foods all the way down there. We have a kitchen. Those are some of the conference rooms. We have some coffee makers here. But I think these are only open 9 to 5. Christian Wilson, good to see you. We're gonna head down now. Long day, good day though. Design Ideas, good to see you. Cosmo, what's up, man? God, I think we may go out here. Happy Friday, everybody. Kathy Lyons, welcome. Whew, a lot to talk about. Crazy. Have a good man. See you later. Austin City Limits. Good to see you. All right, we are free. Happy Friday, everybody. I trust everybody has some pretty interesting weekend plans. You know, we've been starting the streams off from the office lately because there's something wrong with my computer. For some reason, my laptop will only work when it's physically plugged in, which is a little bit cumbersome. Usually I like to start the streams off either in the park or something like that. It's a little bit better, maybe a little bit easier for me. Come on. I like it. Hey. Melee is here, good to see you. So let's do a quick check-in on who we have in the chat. I see Matthew P is here, Vinny Castellano. We have Brian, good to see you, Brian. Charlie Richardson is here, happy Friday. I see Mike C says, hey everybody, I'm early for a change. What's up, Mike? Good to see you. Let me try to adjust the camera. I think we're pretty zoomed in here. But tonight, Tonight we are going to be walking all the way downtown. Now, last night we went to the Brooklyn Bridge. I think tonight we're gonna go to the Manhattan Bridge. The bad news is we still don't have a microphone. I think I gotta just buy one entirely. I was doing some tests with the other mic, and I always get this like sort of staticky crackling sound. So I don't know, we'll have to figure it out. We'll fix it. No big deal. Sally is here, says, hey Tom, I'm here, good to see you. You know, it was a pretty nice rally day today on Wall Street. However, if you notice some of the market sentiment before the open, there was a Bloomberg article that came out. It's actually one of the first articles I read today, that Christine Lagarde over at the ECB came out and specifically said that they're not going to provide liquidity to the energy companies, right? She said, and I quote, that is a fiscal issue. It's not really a monetary issue on the monetary side of the house, which I actually tend to agree with Christine Lagarde there. However, she did say that they're going to provide liquidity as needed to the banks. And once that news got out, this market took off, and rather strong. I think the S&P 500 closed up over a 1.5%. Same thing with the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Oh, that's right. So everybody, we're going to have a full moon. I think this is the last full moon of summer. So as we make our way down to the Manhattan Bridge, you'll be able to see it in greater detail. So the market had a pretty nice rally day today, but it does not mean we are out of the woods just yet. The good news is that the S&P 500 is now back above its 50-day moving average. I think also we were able to reclaim that on the NASDAQ as well. But at the end of the day, I think we have to understand and follow the liquidity. And as central banks around the world, it's not just Fed Chair Jerome Powell, it's Christine Lagarde, it's the Canadian Central Bank. Everybody's tightening, everybody is raising interest rates. So the famous saying on Wall Street that we always talk about is, don't fight the Fed. So we'll see, we'll keep our eye on it. We'll also talk about Zscaler today. Obviously, we did a deep dive into their earnings report yesterday. Stock is up about 20% on massive volume. Massive volume. Hey, I see Dusty Cole is here. Says, hey everybody, hey Tom, how you doing? I'm doing good, man. It's a pretty nice night. It's actually not too hot. It's almost a little bit chilly tonight. We're here on Madison Avenue and East 26th Street. I'll give you a quick shot of the One Vanderbilt building as you look up Madison Avenue, but we're actually gonna be headed the other way tonight. We're gonna be headed downtown. Marcelo Gill says, hey Tom, TGIF. Marcelo, what's up? Marcelo is joining us from Brazil, always a pleasure. GX70 is here, welcome. GX72, hope you had a good day. This week absolutely flew by. I see Christian Hansen is here, bagels and walks, sunshine after rain. Gregory, welcome. GN says, is that why people were cranky today? Is what why people were cranky today? People were cranky? Who was cranky? Charles Hong says, hey from DC. What's up, Charles? Welcome. Latha, trust you're well. So my good friend Jim Ropel, he made an appearance on Alyssa Corum's, and she is the, I think the main news anchor, I guess you could call, for Investors Business Daily. So if you guys want to watch a very, very good interview on the overall general markets, if you go to my Twitter page, so if you follow @WalksWallStreet on Twitter, look at my last couple tweets. I retweeted that interview. So Jim Ropel is a very, very successful hedge fund manager. He's a friend of mine. He's a great guy. I was actually had the pleasure of meeting up with him at the 2022 Bitcoin conference. And he actually may be at the Markets Watch conference here in New York City, September 21st, which I may be in New York City for that. But check out that interview. He talks about a lot of very key metrics to look for. He talks a lot about don't fight the Fed, the overall broader market, and the breadth of the overall market. And I think that'd be good to share with you all. So if you have some time this weekend, definitely check that out. If you go to my Twitter page, I retweeted the interview. Very short, 25 minutes, but I think you can get a lot of value out of it. So now we're standing on Fifth Avenue here, and we are overlooking the absolutely beautiful Empire State Building. Has a beautiful American flag in the shot, as well as the mural on the building. Hey, Pio is here. This is great live, Tom. Thank you. Thank you so much, Pio, for the $5 donation. Wishing you a very, very happy Friday night and a great weekend. Bingham says hello, watching from the Bahamas as always. Super jealous of that. I'd love to be in the Bahamas. The LT Prod says T-Mobile announced a massive buyback program yesterday. Yeah, so I did see that. Also, T-Mobile had some pretty big layoffs too. Now, I want to be fair. Every time we talk about layoffs, obviously that can be construed as, oh, we're going into a recession, so a lot of companies are laying people off. That is correct. However, when we talk about the layoffs that happened at T-Mobile, I can really say from experience, those layoffs are probably going to happen anyway. So if we think about the contingencies, I'd say, on that acquisition of Sprint, the FCC stated specifically that there could be no layoffs or job losses for, I believe, the first 24 months. And I think it's been about 2 years now since that merger closed. So a lot of the positions that there was much duplicity in, unfortunately, some of those guys and girls were laid off. Now, what do you guys think about it? I'm not sure if you guys heard about this news. I'm sure many of you have. So Patreon, we'll wait to the motorcycles pass. So Patreon is a company, I think you guys all probably know it very well. You can give donations and it helps, creators or businesses raise money and things like that through subscription resources. But they allegedly laid off their entire securities team. And I saw this on LinkedIn and everybody was making a big deal about it, which I totally understand. It's horrible when you have anybody getting laid off. It is a very, very stressful time. If anybody's ever been through a layoff, it's horrible. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But after doing some digging and looking into it, I think it was about 5 people that Patreon decided to lay off. Now, I'm not trying to justify it and say, oh, it's only 5 people, who cares? But the news story was so big on LinkedIn, and I think it could be a little bit blown out of proportion. So as I was doing some digging, it seems as if Patreon is just hiring like a third-party vendor or a VAR or an MSP, and those acronyms stand for value-added reseller or managed service provider, to outsource a lot of their cybersecurity and corporate security needs. So I don't think that was related to a recessionary environment. I think it's just a decision that particular company made. Now, where I do see some concern here is that Meta just announced a pretty big layoff. I think they laid off their entire product team, or not product team.
What's the company, my guy? Morgan Stanley.
I forget, but if you guys could decipher, if you Google Meta layoffs, I think there was a lot of the team members who supported the VR and Oculus stuff were unfortunately laid off. And I think Google is actually announcing that they may reduce people's salaries too. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But for now, we are right outside of the Flatiron building. I'll give you guys a view. Hey, Jersey Girl is here, says good evening. The one and only Lady O. Lady O, happy Friday to you. Thank you for joining tonight. We're actually outside of one of your favorite places. So we are outside of Italy tonight. Lady O is our moderator from New Jersey. It's a very lively night in the city too. Well, it is Fashion Week, so it is New York City Fashion Week. There's probably going to be a ton of stuff going on this weekend in the city as well. Paul Lesnar is here, says hello. Good to see you, Paul. Chris Beeman, the one and only. Good to see you. Chris is joining us from Arizona. Welcome, welcome. Christian Hansen is here. The LT Prods, Zscaler had a big day today. Yeah, so Zscaler reported earnings. We covered that in detail on last night's live stream. So Zscaler, the CEO is Jay Chaudhry. And one of the things that I like to look for, or is a big plus, when you're looking at a particular investment, is very rare do you have a company that currently has the CEO that was the founder and owns about 45% of the business. So Jay Chaudhry, unbelievable American entrepreneur. He was originally from India, but he still retains and owns about 45% of Zscaler. So the reason why I think that's important is because for any entrepreneurs out there, you could probably, attest to this. Your company is sort of like your child. And if you retain such a high ownership of your company, you're really going to watch that like a hawk, right? You're going to make sure you're hiring the best people, the best and brightest talent. You're going to make sure you're engineering the best products possible, the best services. And I think it reflects rather well with Zscaler's earnings, right? Constantly beating out earnings estimates, constantly beating out revenue estimates, and even increasing and raising forward guidance. So I thought it was a fantastic quarter for our friends at Zscaler. Hey, Jeff is like, hello from Yorkshire, England. Hope you've had a good day. What's up, Jeff? Hope everything is well in your neck of the woods in England. Good to see everybody from Yorkshire tonight. Felix is here, says, hey, Tom, hope you had a great weekend. Thank you, Felix. Hope you have a good one as well. Mets fan 1023 says, Fed Chair Powell is a dangerous man. So, Mets fan, I believe Elon Musk just tweeted something about 30 minutes ago. I didn't really have too much time to look into it, but essentially Elon Musk's whole take on monetary policy is that the Fed could potentially be tightening or raising interest rates too fast. Now, if you go over to Twitter, check out what Elon Musk said. I didn't really have time to read into it too deep because I was just finished work and I was about to start the stream. But could Elon Musk be just saying this because he runs a tech company? Well, I guess that statement is a little bit controversial. Many of you would be like, whoa, Tesla is an automotives business. Yeah, I think you could probably say that. But at the end of the day, I think Tesla's a technology company and a big data company. We'll see. Christian Hansen says Alan Greenspan made our economy bad too. Hey, Marcelo Gill says, will the Fed use contractionary monetary policy if the economy grows too fast and increases inflation? What do you think about it? Yeah, well, I mean, I just don't think it's not just Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, right, Marcelo? Yesterday we heard from the ECB, so the European Central Bank, and the head of that is Christine Lagarde. They raised interest rates by 75 basis points. But I think the Eurozone is a little bit further behind the United States in terms of monetary policy. Their benchmark rate right now is 75 basis points. It's actually just lifted off zero for the first time in many, many years. And before that, before the 50 basis point rate hike last month, it was actually in negative territory. So I think what you're seeing is a global liquidity squeeze here. And I think we need to be very, very cognizant of that. Because if we think about what monetary policy is, essentially, and what it does, when monetary policy is easy money as they call it, right? Quantitative easing. A lot of liquidity or money is sloshing around the system. So banks can lend it to me and you. Maybe we buy a car, maybe we buy goods and services, we start to spend, and that grows the economy, right? But when we start to enter QT or quantitative tightening, central banks, and again, it's not only the Fed, right? It's not only the Federal Reserve, which is led by Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. You're starting to see this at the ECB and Canada. central banks across the globe are starting to now remove that liquidity. And it's interesting. Wow, this is a good shot of the Empire State Building tonight. This is East 22nd Street, Broadway. But central banks around the world now are starting to remove liquidity from the system, and I think it's showing, right? This week we had a lot of instability in the debt market and the bond market. We saw a yield spike. That 10-year US Treasury yield took off like a rocket ship. We were talking about that. But what was interesting, did you guys see the big news? Well, technically it wasn't big news, but I thought it was a big news story that came across Bloomberg early this morning. And Christine Lagarde specifically said that they're not in the business of providing liquidity to the energy companies, right? And I actually agree with her. I think she's correct. It's not the Fed's job to sort of intervene with energy prices.
Oh, I know, but that's really
and support them. But this is what she did say. She said that the ECB, or the European Central Bank, is prepared to provide direct liquidity to the banks or the financial system. And once that sort of hit the headlines, this market took off and went gangbusters. I mean, the market had a pretty good day today, but it's only one day. But I think it goes back to the market in general, and investors are so hung up on liquidity, right? So is the system going to freeze up? Are we going to have a credit freeze? Or is money going to continue to flow throughout the economy? Hey, I see Gary Carpenter is here. Says hello, everybody. Good afternoon, Gary. So hopefully the 9/11 memorial lights are on tonight. I think they are. We saw them for a little bit last night, but they had to turn the lights off. So we're going to head down to the Manhattan Bridge tonight. But check out this full moon right here. I think this is the last full moon of the summer. So we'll get some really nice views of that as we head down toward the Manhattan Bridge. Pio, once again, thank you for being here. Hopefully you had a good week so far. Tin Man is here. Long time no see, Tin Man. Pio, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Austin City Limits. Mike says Kathy Wood basically criticized Powell for the same thing. Yeah, and I respect Kathy Wood a lot. Even though we may disagree on some certain things, I think she's absolutely brilliant. Here's where I think that Kathy Wood could potentially, has already gotten herself into a lot of trouble. So before I say that, I just want to make sure that everybody has that interview. Okay, so my friend Jim Ropel, who runs Ropel Capital Management out of Chicago. Jim is a great guy, he's a great teacher. So he did a really good interview today after the bell. So if you go to my Twitter page, @WalksWallStreet, I actually shared that interview. It's about 25 minutes, take the time to watch that. Okay, because he talks about a lot of the things we talk about on the streams, like liquidity, not fighting the Fed, things like that. Hey, Design Ideas, thank you so much for the $20 donation, Design Ideas. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. And hopefully you have a fantastic weekend coming up. But here's the issue with Kathy Wood. So if you look at all the studies about true market leaders, there's about a 2.5% chance that former true market leaders go on in the next bull cycle to turn into the new emerging true market leaders. Okay, so let's review what that means. Let's unpack that together. So what is a true market leader, or a TML? Well, those are the leading stocks that during a new bull market are going to go up the most. They're going to see the most price appreciation. Okay, and there's different ways that we could try to identify those specific companies by looking at very, very specific set of characteristics, right? And that could be anything by market cap, that could be earnings growth, which the main sort of, as I like to call magic elixir there, is earnings growth. If a company is reporting $2 of EPS this year, and they're projected to do $10 of EPS next year, well, the stock is probably going to go up, right? In very simple terms, right? So the problem is Cathie Wood is doubling down on a lot of these former true market leaders that have been getting clocked, and that have been getting clocked rather hard. So for example, all of like the Teladocs, the Palantirs, all of these very high beta, non-profitable tech companies that have been getting freaking slaughtered. And if you look at the data, if you study former and new and emerging true market leaders, very, very seldom, it's about 2.5% to be exact, they'll return to new all-time record highs and become the next bull cycle's true market leaders. So what that means is once these things are cooked, they're pretty much cooked for good. So, in the investment business, it's not good to double down on your losses, right? I think you need to come to terms and come to grips with things and pull the ripcord and get out and blow out the position. But what she's been doing throughout this entire bear market is averaging down her losses as these stocks are down 90%. I mean, you look at a company like Zoom, she continues to buy this thing and it's down 80%, 90%. And then that begs the question, if the stock is down 90%, how much lower can it go? And the answer to that is zero. It could go to zero. So I'm not saying that Zoom is going to go to zero, but I think you guys get the point. It's like, if you want to manage risk, you should never double down on your positions that are already underwater to the tune of 70 to 90%. So I think that's sort of where me and Cathie would potentially disagree. And many of these stocks that have gotten hammered, beautiful full moon out, wow, look at that. Many of these stocks that are down 90%, it's going to have a very, very hard time reaching new all-time record highs due to what's called overhead supply. Okay, so let's say if stock XYZ at the height of the bull market was trading at $1,000 and now it's trading at $100. Well, you have to think about how much overhead supply that stock has to make its way through to get to new all-time record highs. So if the stock goes from $100 back to $500, all the people who got in at 500 and are now underwater and are finally at break even, they're gonna say, oh my God, it's finally to where I purchased it. I just wanna get out of the market and I'm never gonna do something so stupid in my life ever again. And that essentially guarantees that more supply is going to come onto the market, so it's very hard for these stocks to make headway. That's why a lot of the times I'll like to look for companies who have exceptional earnings growth and they're trading near their 52-week highs because they don't have to fight through that much overhead. So, hey, David is here. Says Tom went through the same thing with Matterport. Good to see you, David. The LT Prod says Cathie Wood can afford more risk than many people. Well, potentially, but until what happens when the redemptions start happening? And again, not to get me wrong, I respect Cathie Wood. I think she's a fantastic analyst, right? I think she may be right over the long term, but I think her timing may be off. But yeah, you could say, okay, you could afford to take the risk and this and that, but what happens when the redemptions start, right? If you ever watched the movie, The Big Short, and they come into Michael Burry's office and the guy's like, give me my, not to say any curse words, but give me my money, dude. He's like, give me my money back. The fund is down 60%. Now, in Michael Burry's case, it turned out that waiting a little bit, made his investors billions of dollars. But there comes a time where you sort of get that contagion effect where investors, start to pull money out of the fund. So, hey, Raphael says, hey, Tom, when are you headed back to Miami, Florida? We should be back later next week, but I may extend my stay in New York because there is a investing conference here in New York City, and two of my really good buddies are going to fly in from Chicago for it, and I think I want to be in town to hang out with them. And that is the Market Watch concert. concert. Conference on September 21st, I believe. Hey, North Dakota Natives is looking forward to going to the Manhattan Bridge tonight. Thank you so much, North Dakota Native. Maria says, why don't you walk around US Open venue? Because that is all the way in Queens. And I just got off of work, so I don't know. We're not, it's not very close, but good to see you. Austin City Limits says, Tom, when the Fed stops raising rates, then there will be the beginning of the new bull market. So that that is exactly what sort of like Bill Ackman is saying. He's saying, I think the market's going to bottom when the Fed is finished killing inflation and they can telegraph to the market that we could start to ease up on monetary policy. So I think you're aligned with sort of like a Bill Ackman, which you could be right. Maybe you're right, Austin City Limits. It's very possible that you're right. Hey, Haas Manning is here. Good afternoon. All right, team, we are now at Union Square Station. This is 14th Street, right outside of the very famous Whole Foods. Wow, check out that full moon there. Yeah, but I want to get back to Miami. I definitely missing it a little bit, especially now. I think we have our good mix of back and forth. Hey, Charles D says Wall Street is like a drunken psycho. AAL is going to zero. What's up? What's up, Charles? Welcome, my friend. The LT Prod, welcome. Marcelo Gill says, Tom, nice point of view, but the U.S. economy growth is slowing in 2022 from 2021. Yeah, well, the number one thing that I look for is corporate earnings, right? And I sort of get this from Peter Lynch. So I'll recommend a good good book to you guys. And the book is called One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. And essentially what Peter Lynch says is that corporate earnings generally tend to go up over time in the United States. So depending on how long or your time horizon is for investing, let's say if you just buy the S&P 500 or something like that, over time, as corporate earnings grow, so should the growth of the S&P 500 or something like that. And if you look at Q2 specifically, Q2, I believe US companies in the S&P 500 grew their earnings or their EPS about 9.5%. And they also grew their revenues, I think, by 11.5%. Now, I think that's the number. Maybe you guys could Google that. Could somebody just verify that really quick? I think that's where a lot of the companies or the S&P 500 ended in Q2. Is earnings growth was about 9.5%. And I actually think that was a record. Now, you're totally correct, Marcelo, that those earnings could decelerate and decline going into 2023 for a myriad of reasons, right? Especially if inflation stays elevated. I think it could potentially be very difficult for those companies to pass those costs on to consumers, right? They may have to start eating those costs, in which case gross margins are going to come down. But in Q2, we actually really didn't see that. And we've been covering it on the streams. You know, there were actually some instances where companies within the S&P 500 expanded their gross margins. Now, I think Tesla took a little bit of a hit, but if you compare like a Tesla to a GM or a Ford, the average gross margin of the automakers, aside from Tesla, is mid-single digits, maybe. You know, Tesla's a little bit below 30% gross margin, so I don't know. I think you could be right, but so far in Q2, the earnings actually weren't that bad, to be honest. Hey, everybody, we have our good moderator, Ibrahim Azam from California. Good to see you, Ibrahim. Hopefully you are well. Good to see you. Hey, Dutchman is here. Says, Tom, do you think there are many in various business sectors who have possibly used the inflation to capitalize on raising their prices? So I think it's an important thing to talk about, Dutchman. And sort of let's unpack that a little bit. So many people, more so on the left, will say something along the lines of, oh, check this view out, everybody. So this is the Empire State Building. Many people will use the argument that, look, corporate profits were all-time record highs in Q1 and Q2. So the corporations are the people that are causing the inflation, right? That is the sort of narrative. However, I think it's very hard to say that if you really, really understand how pricing pressure works. So I always like to give the example of like a real world example in my business. So I was having a really, really hard time. So during the pandemic, now granted, during the pandemic and in 2021 were probably two of my best years ever, right? Mainly because I was selling software and selling the hardware that these businesses needed to convert their on-premise infrastructure to a hybrid style work environment, right? So everybody had to work remote in the field, and I was selling those products and services to help those businesses do that. But where it was very difficult for me is a lot of the routers, right? A lot of the devices, you know, if a customer's building, you know, out like an SD-WAN network or something like that, a lot of my costs were going up every single quarter, and I couldn't even keep up with it. So when I would ask my customers to cut me a PO or a purchase order, I would quote them one price, and then the next month I'm underwater on the deal. So what I did is I factored in I said, look, okay, these prices for my OEM are going up roughly 15% a quarter. That's how much it was going up by. It was ridiculous. Mainly due to semiconductor shortages and things like that. I'm like, look, I'm gonna front load this. I'm gonna bake at least 4 quarters of a potential inflation print into my price. This way, I don't have to constantly keep going back to my customer and saying, oop, the price changed, oop, the price changed, oop, the price changed, sorry about that. So what happened is, in Q4 of 2021, my margins exploded. They were massive, windfall profits. But as 2022 rolled around, every single month and every single quarter when I sold product, my cost was going up, but I held that price constant to my customer, right? So I think when you're sort of doing business planning, right, or if you're in logistics, supply chain, or procurement, I think that's what a lot of these businesses were doing, is saying, look, our prices for the raw materials, the goods and services are going up 12% a quarter, right? These are just random numbers. We can't really operate a business like that because we have to tell our customers quotes. We have to give them quotes and prices. They have to cut us a PO for this equipment. And I can't keep changing prices. It's gonna make their heads spin, right? Because especially if you're selling into the enterprise, right? If you're selling deals into large enterprise customers, they plan their budgets like a year in advance. So you're dealing with a fixed amount, so you have to sort of be negotiable and massage in the prices. So the point I'm trying to make is I don't think there were these greedy corporations going out there and saying, look, we're gonna take advantage of all this inflation and we're gonna beat everybody over the head. It's not how things work. What I do think is there was probably some front loading of those price increases, but then the margin would slowly be eroded away. At least that's what I did, because it's just, you can't operate a business when prices are jacking up, you know, every single quarter. So hopefully that answers the question. And look, that's just my take. That's just my opinion, but hey, Manny Explorers. What's up? Good to see you, my friend. Happy Friday. Always a pleasure to see you, dude. Destructionist is here, Dusty Cole. So now we are at 8th Street, downtown Brooklyn. You can get the RW trains near the campus of New York University. And we actually have a Tesla taxi here. Check it out. I think New York City should convert their entire fleet of taxis to these Tesla taxis. What do you guys think? They look really, really nice. Denise Ebby is here. Good to see you. Jay. Hey, Skylar is here. Says, hey, Tom, since there is a full moon. Oh, it's the last full moon of summer. Be safe. Watch out for the werewolves. Yeah, we'll have to watch out, especially as we cross the Manhattan Bridge. Let me know if the wind noise is getting caught in the microphone, because we're going without a standard mic tonight. I have to order another one off of Amazon. Mine has definitely exhausted its time. Haas Manning, good to see you. Hey, Blues Writer. Thank you so much for the donation, my friend. You are too kind. This is grab a Foster's in a brown paper bag on me, Tom. NYU, Brooklyn Bridge, Freedom Tower shots last night were amazing. Hey, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the support. Thank you for your generous donation. You guys help keep the streams running here, so I appreciate it very, very much. So GX72 says the infrastructure for Teslas to take over New York isn't there yet. So that's true. I think it will get there over time. You know, we were talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, as they call it. You know, and you guys know me, I'm very transparent. Usually I'm very, very critical of, you know, the Biden administration when they do things that are stupid, but when they do things that I like, I give them credit. And there's actually a lot of subsidy and a lot of money going towards investing into building out exactly that type of infrastructure, which I think is good. You know, my thought process is, look, the money is going to be spent anyway. We're going to send it overseas. We're going to funnel it around the world. We might as well invest in infrastructure here. So I think it was a good thing that they did. Because if we talk about all of this, you know, transition to electric vehicles and all this, it's all going to be for naught if we don't have the infrastructure, the charging stations. So GX72, I think you're right. For now, we don't. I don't even think I've ever seen a charging station here in New York. Maybe in some of the parking garages, but I think the only Tesla charging station I've seen is in upstate New York around Westchester County. Now, there may be some in the parking garages, but I've never seen any here. Anybody in the chat has a Tesla in New York that wants to let us know where some of the charging stations are? I'd be interested to know that. Hey, Alan is here. Just relaxing and listening to great advice. Good to see you, Alan. Yeah, it's a beautiful night here, guys. I'm glad it's Friday. Man, was it a crazy day. And a busy week at work. So it's definitely going to try to take some time to unwind tonight and over the weekend. So we are now at East 4th Street and Broadway. We're actually very close to the Stern School of Business. Hey, Shivas, is that a university around there? Yeah, so Shiva, I'll show you. So we actually have New York University right here. If you keep walking down East 4th Street, you're gonna crash right into the very famous Stern School of Business at New York University. So a lot of NYU students, and I totally forgot, I think this is the first week that all colleges and universities are back with classes, is that correct? Because usually when we stream in this area, it's really dead. Beautiful dogs. Really nice looking dogs there. Hey, taxi cabs says, hey Tom, those empty newsstands should be converted into charging stations. You know, that's actually a pretty good idea. Here's the only issue with the charging stations that I think may happen here in the city. There's just no space here. You know, if you think about California, it's, you know, wide open space, especially if you're outside of LA. But New York, we're literally on an island and everything is so jam-packed. Like, think about where you would put a charging station on this street. You have scaffolding covering most of the sidewalk. You have a dumpster and some parked cars. You could barely fit 2 cars through here. You know, maybe they should make something where the charging stations come up from underground. So like it attaches under your car from underground. Because I don't know where else you'd fit it here. Maybe in a parking garage, but besides that, probably not. So Latha says, Tom, in California, our charging stations go in parking lots mainly. Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. There's no, like, look at this craziness we have here. We have a mobile boiler room covering half the street, a Tesla. I mean, where's this guy gonna charge? And there's no space for the bike lane. I don't know. I think that's a job for the urban planners, right? I think that's actually a pretty in-demand job, the urban planners, correct? But we are outside the Stern School of Business here at NYU. And oftentimes we'll highlight and talk about a specific professor that goes by the name of Professor Damodaran, or Aswat Damodaran. And he is very famous for teaching a course, well, 2 courses specifically here. One in securities analysis and corporate finance. Now, the good news is NYU is actually offering those 2 courses online this year. Now, if you don't have the money to pay for those courses, don't worry, because if you join the Discord in the link in the description, I actually put a link to those courses for free, absolutely free. Now, you're not going to get a credential by taking those courses, but you'll get to retain all the information. And so Professor Damodaran actually took the corporate finance course, the securities analysis and the valuations course, and uploaded it to his YouTube channel. So you could actually take the course for free if you actually want to retain the information and teach yourself about corporate finance, how to evaluate a business, things like that, which I think is fantastic. I'm all for free education. But if you want to get like the credential, I believe it's called, then you have to pay for the course here at NYU. But if you want to just know everything that's in the course, you can take it for free. All right, team, here we are. The very beautiful Washington Square Park on the corner of West 4th Street. And it appears there's a lot of college students out here tonight as well. Hey, Nicholas Duras says, Tom, New York City is a series of islands. It's not just one island. Thank you for that. I wasn't aware. Gina Thomas has just Googled charging stations in New York City. Dusty Cole says knowledge versus credential. Yeah, and that's sort of why I think that the world is, I think education specifically is going to get disrupted, especially now that there's a shortage of workers. You know, let's say if you go through Demoderan's corporate finance class, and you take it and you've studied it and you know it better than the people that actually took it, but they paid for it and they get the credential. Well, those organizations or businesses would hire those people over the other ones. Look at this thing. Whoa. That thing is crazy. What? I think that's Cosmo. Cosmo, I think you just drove past us on the stream, dude, in your 15 passenger van that's elevated. Hey, Abdullah is here. Hey, Abdullah, good to see you. Hey, we have Muhammad. Welcome, Muhammad. Happy Friday to you. But yeah, I think there's a lot of reform to be done in the education system, where I think we need to start putting more prudence on the and more focus on the actual education than just the physical piece of paper. You know, and I think that's actually going to energize a lot of people to say, look, focus on the skills, build the fundamental skills, and then you could enter the job market and you don't have to go into all this debt and all this nonsense. So I want to do one lap around Washington Square Park, but I don't think we can because we're just not going to have enough time. So we'll just start by heading down. You have a beautiful view of the One World Trade Center in the distance here. Hey, Ryan Royal is here. Does that look like one of those trucks we have down south? Oh, I forgot, everybody. Could you guys in the chat tell me if this is streaming in 1080p or not? I know that a couple streams ago we were having some technical difficulties in relation to the stream only projecting in 720p for whatever reason. But I think we may have fixed the issue. So let me know if we're 1080. Okay, so Gregory says we're good to go. Hey, Arum Z, welcome. Says we're at 1080p. Copy that. Awesome, thank you. Thought Travel, welcome. So I'm looking at the One World Trade Center here, but I do not think for some reason the lights aren't on. The memorial, the 9/11 memorial tribute lights. I'm not sure why. I was hoping that once we get down to the Manhattan Bridge, the lights will be on so we could have a pretty nice view of that. But as of now, it doesn't look like they're on. But we'll see. Hey, Eve is here. Welcome, Eve. Hope you're well. Eve says, hello, host. Good evening to you and everybody. God bless everybody and stay safe. Thank you for that, Eve. I appreciate that. Jerry says it's 1080. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. You know, if only all the scaffolding in New York was like this. This is like some futuristic scaffolding here. Tom G says maybe it's dark for the Queen. I don't know. I mean, they lit up the Empire State Building last night. If anybody was on the stream last night, the Empire State Building was actually lit up in the royal colors, I believe, the purple. And it looked quite nice, so. Corvette Girl is here, good to see you. Welcome, Corvette Girl. Okay, we finally made it to Bleecker Street. Hey, Gabriel says, hey, love all the views you are providing. Thank you, Gabriel. We are here on Bleecker Street waiting to cross. This is sort of like the NYU college town, I guess you could call it. Nashuk says hello from your new subscriber, just joined. Hey, well, thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing. And hopefully you have a fantastic start to your weekend. Appreciate you being here. Gian says hello from Lima, Peru. Welcome to all of our Peruvian viewers. Cosmo says, is the Red Lion busy? Cosmo, what is that? Is that a name of a bar or something? I'm not too sure what that is. Cosmo, did you get a chance to go to the US Open? Did you go this year, or are you, it's on right now. I'd like to go one year. Dusty Cole says Bleecker has good pizza. Usually, yeah. If you keep walking down a little bit to Prince Street Pizza is one of my favorites. One of the many very, very good spots here. SK says, I think they keep it off for the migrating birds. Yeah, so SK, that's what Action Kid said last night. Said that a lot of they turned it off for the birds. But I don't know, it was on for like a couple hours and then they shut it off. So hopefully they'll turn it on for a couple hours as we head over the Manhattan Bridge. We'll see. Hey, man, Delta Rosa says, hey, bro. Good to see you. Shiva says, are you near Madison and 33rd Street? No, so we're downtown. So that is all the way pretty much in the opposite direction of where we are. So we are approaching Houston Street. So we're about to be south of it. And we are headed towards the One World Trade Center. So 33rd and Madison is close-ish to the Empire State Building, which would be 34th and 5th Avenue. So it's close-ish. This is always a crazy busy intersection, West Broadway. And Houston. So we have some news coming out of EY, Ernst & Young, one of the big four consulting firms, along with KPMG, Deloitte. And it seems as if they're going to be splitting their business apart into the consulting arm of the business and the auditing part of the business. And one of the reasons why they want to do this is because right now, EY's auditing customers have a little bit of a conflict of interest, or could potentially have a conflict of interest with the consulting side of the business if EY chooses to sell different products and services to those customers. So in splitting up that business, their hope is to drive additional profitability and more revenue, so that now that those two segments are segmented, they can go to the auditing clients and actually sell them very lucrative consulting services. And I think there's over 13,000 partners at EY. And this could set up to be very, very lucrative opportunity for those particular partners, into the millions if this deal does go through. Or I should say, if they successfully split the business, if they split EY in two. So assuming all goes well, they're targeting a late 2023 IPO for the consulting side of the business. And I believe they hired Goldman Sachs as well as JP Morgan to do some consulting and some guidance on that deal. So we'll have to play it by ear. We'll have to see what happens. You know, there has been some rumbles on the street that KPMG and Deloitte are using this opportunity as the business is trying to split apart to poach that very notable talent from EY. And that's usually what happens, right? I mean, it happens, it's not only exclusive to the consulting, it's, you know, in tech and in investment banking, So usually when a company is going through a major transition, that could potentially put a lot of stress on their employees. And if the employees don't want to deal with it,
But in LA,
and they get a lucrative opportunity to go to KPMG or go to Deloitte, they're probably going to take it. So I think we just need to keep our eye on this. But if it does go through and they do successfully split up, I think this could be very, very lucrative for the partners over there at EY. It could be very lucrative. Hey, G Shep is here. It says, hey Tom, do you ever get offers to work for a news station? You would make a perfect newscaster. No, I don't know. I haven't really gotten any offers now. But I appreciate the compliment. G Shep in the house. Thank you, my friend. So G Shep, if you're just tuning in, we are sending it all the way to the Manhattan Bridge. Last night we were on the Brooklyn Bridge, so we might as well do the Manhattan Bridge tonight. And hopefully they have the 9/11 memorial lights up when we get down there. But supposedly there's been some issues with the birds migrating, getting all messed up in the lights. So we'll see what happens. G-Shep, I have gotten some offers, like tech sales offers from people, like recruiters who've been watching the stream. And if I talk about a specific company, I've been, offered to interview places, things like that, which has been really cool. I mean, I would never in a million years think that just by live streaming and covering financial markets and talking about software sales, tech sales in general, I mean, you never know who's watching. It's kind of crazy. Oh, I got to show you guys this art gallery here. So this is Chase Contemporary Art. There's always a lot of unique places here. Hey, Vonda Howard, what's up? Says Tom, all the New York walkers should do a big meet and greet. That'd be fun. Yeah, I know that my pal Action Kid is now back in New York for a little bit.
This is Astimios is from
Vonda Howard, welcome. Denise says, yes, Dallas is cool, but I am from Fort Worth, Texas. Yes, we are. So the One World Trade Center building is directly in front of your screen. So that is where we are headed, but we're actually going to veer off to the left. And from there, we're going to go to the Manhattan Bridge. But if you guys are enjoying tonight's live stream so far, feel free to leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams roughly 5 days per week between New York City and Miami. We'd love to have you back for more. But check out that full moon. I think this is the last full moon of the summer. We'll take a detour through here. I'll show you guys a lot of the outdoor dining structures here. There's a lot of interesting and cool restaurants here as well. Ah, that's right. So Techno Pink is our pal from the Dominican Republic, works for EY. So we'll have to get his take on the whole EY deal. I'd love to know his thoughts. Hey, Lisa's here. Says, I love it. What's up, Lisa? Welcome. The Shucks is West Palm Beach. Weather is very nice tonight. Yeah, it seems as if right around this time of year is when the humidity breaks a little bit in southern Florida, which is rather nice. Everybody, we have Michelle K joining us. Good to see you, Michelle. This is good evening, Tom, and everybody. Happy Friday, Michelle. Hopefully you're doing well. Tonight's live stream. A very big rally day. I'm going to ask the question whether the bottom is in for the market. Are we starting a new bull market, or when will that happen? So I just want to address a couple of my main concerns as it relates to, are we in a new bull market? Are we not? And one of the biggest concerns that I have is usually when we just enter, oh, that was a huge rat. Did you guys see that? That thing was massive. Did anybody, hold on, I'll take a pause. Did anybody see that? I think I missed that. I think I was pointing the camera too high. Did you guys see that massive rat? Anyway. Oh, Gregory, you did see it? This cafe looks kind of cool, 787 coffee. So the market right now is very, very thin. And in the hedge fund business, there's something that's called crowdedness. Okay, so I'll explain what crowdedness is. And essentially it is when too many market participants are looking at the same deal or looking at the same investment. That's called crowdedness. So a lot of the new potential true market leaders that are leading this market out of the potential bear market, maybe it's ending, maybe it's not, there's only about, I would say, a handful of names that meet all the criteria, where they have amazing earnings growth, fantastic revenue growth, top of class, best in class pre-tax and after-tax margins, right? Fantastic, phenomenal, blow it out of the water return on equity. There's only about 10 of those particular stocks that are trading near 52-week highs, and everybody sees them. A lot of the hedge fund managers that I talk to, if you want to see an interview by one of them, Jim Ropel, just go to my Twitter handle, @WalksWallStreet. You could see the interview with Jim Ropel. Jim is a wealth of knowledge and unbelievably successful hedge fund manager out of Chicago. And everybody's looking at these same 10 names. And usually when we're emerging into a potential new bull market, there'll be so many opportunities where you won't even know which one to go after, right? You won't even know which particular company to size into. So I think in order for us to have a sustained uptrend, there needs to be new merchandise on the market. Now, if you remember all the way back to the beginning of the live stream, one of the things we were talking about is the overall breadth of the market. So if these stocks are getting clocked and a lot of the tech stocks or the former true market leaders are now down 90%, well, those things are cooked, right? Those things are absolutely cooked. They're done. There needs to be new merchandise that leads the market to new highs. I think everybody, and we've already talked about one of the investors, Kathy Wood, they're trying to double down and triple down on these stocks that have been crushed, right? Historically, there's only about a 2.5% probability of a former true market leader turning up and turning into the new true market leader of the next bull cycle. So I really think in order for a new bull or a sustained uptrend to start, we need to see a lot of new merchandise or new bases forming from other sectors. So if you think about, ooh, I think this guy, oh no, it's not a one-way. I thought he went down a one-way. If you think about this, there was 2 trades that worked this year. And if you weren't a part of one of these 2 trades, you probably lost money. And that was short the indices and long energy. Those were really the only 2 trades that worked. So I think we're going to need to see a little bit more breadth coming into this market as opposed to the very sparse and scarce names that we've been seeing. Wow, look at this. So this is the last full moon of the summer. Right from Soho. The LT prods as the market seems unimpressed with the new iPhone. Yeah, I think that's another, very crowded sort of trade, right? I think, even though I do agree with Jim Cramer that you shouldn't trade Apple, you should probably own it. But I don't think Apple is gonna 5x or 6x in the next bull market, right? I mean, it's already a multi-trillion-dollar company. What I try to look for are the emerging, like, mid-cap companies and try to ride them all the way until they're mature. One of the mature software companies that we talked about that I think a lot of the juice is already squeezed out of is Salesforce, right? But what if you bought Salesforce in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, as it was entering its main stage growth trajectory? Now a lot of the growth in Salesforce comes from acquisition, right? It's not organic. It's a lot of acquisitions. This is a really nice car here too. I think it's a McLaren. Very unique. Hey, Cynthia Beale is here. Good to see you, Cynthia. Quinn says New York City is much more interesting and exciting than Miami. Good to see you, Quinn. Grand Street wants his fireworks display down by South Street Seaport. Is there really? There's a fireworks display down there? Maybe for Fashion Week or something like that? Yeah, Cosmo's like, Layla's car is looking good tonight. Cosmo, I think my favorite was your car earlier, man. The 15 passenger van on the lift was rather interesting. Did anybody see that scooter almost get clobbered by that particular car? That's why I don't ride those scooters. Vonda Howard's like, is it true that you should invest in things you love? Yeah, I think I think that goes into play with you should invest in the things that you understand, right? And investing isn't always just about buying securities. You could be, investing in your business, right? I think that an investment in your particular business, maybe if you're trying to start your own business, is probably the best investments you could probably ever make. I mean, if you think about all of the wealthiest businessmen and businesswomen, very seldom did many of them get rich off of buying a particular stock. Now, they do have family offices where they invest all of their money, but a lot of them made that money from doubling down and tripling down on their businesses. If you think about Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, if you think about Bill Gates with Microsoft, Elon Musk with PayPal and Tesla. So I think the goal is, if you want to start your own business or you have a business, you should funnel all of your money and mental capital into that. And then with the cash flow that business spits off, you should then invest that into other ventures and things like that. Hey, Jay, says Tom, you're at the Red Lion, the best bar ever. I don't think I've ever been to any of these, to be honest. I think I may have been to one. But this area seems to be very busy for the New York City Fashion Week. Seems like a lot of people are in the city for that. We're approaching Canal Street too, so. Wow, Barry Bell's like, yeah, Tom, go look at the Holland Tunnel backup. Yeah, it's probably backed up like crazy. We're gonna see it in a minute, you're right. Ooh, we got Cosmo's car here again. Cosmo looking good. Gregory says both cities are interesting in my opinion. Miami is certainly very beautiful and clean. Yeah, I'll tell you guys a quick story about Miami. So here's the first time I ever really went to Miami, Florida. I was on a business trip in 2014, I think. And this was in February, right after one of the most ferocious snowstorms we've ever had in Manhattan. And so I'm in my suit. I'm feeling so depressed because I always get seasonal depression. And I get off the plane and I honestly just could not even believe that this was a real place. Now, I've never been to Miami, Florida before. It was so perfect, so clean. Everything was pristine. There was palm trees. It was sunny. It was gorgeous. And my jaw was literally on the floor. I could not believe how absolutely gorgeous Miami was. And at the time, I was staying at a really nice place. The location is called Normandy Shores or Normandy Isles in Southern Florida in Miami. You guys could Google it for yourself. And my company put me up around a golf course. Turns out it's pretty much its own private island. Normandy Isles, Normandy Shores, and I was so unbelievably like gobsmacked. Like I don't even know how to explain it. I told myself, I'm gonna buy a place here in 5 years. I'm like, I don't care if I have to work myself to death and grind myself to the bone, I will have a place here in 5 years. That's how beautiful it was. You know, I've never woken up before and it's bright sunshine. Everything is perfect. There's palm trees, there was mango trees, there was coconut trees, avocado trees. The water was so crystal clear blue, I've never seen anything like it. I'm used to, Jones Beach, which is also beautiful, by the way. And, fast forward 5 years, I bought a place down there. And for me, I think my two favorite places on earth where I want to be is New York City and Miami. And I guarantee if you had a place down there and you woke up and you have palm trees in the backyard and you have mango trees and avocado trees in the backyard, it doesn't smell of trash, you wouldn't say it's boring. Let's just say that. But look, I love New York City, my favorite place on earth, but also love Miami. I absolutely love it. I want to have multiple properties in both cities. Multiple properties in both cities. And this isn't a new thing, by the way. I think a lot of people act like it's new for New Yorkers to move to Miami. I mean, Miami is literally nicknamed the sixth borough of New York. It's in my neighborhood, it's all Long Islanders. It's all people from the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan. It's been going on for 50, 60 years. The only thing I'll say though, ooh, this restaurant looks beautiful. Look at this. Wow, this is a really nice outdoor dining setup. I think that's the best outdoor dining setup we've seen. Hey D, this is Tom. It's like the time when I went out west for an outward bound trip. It had rained every single day in Pennsylvania. And in September, and as soon as I stepped off the plane in Colorado, the instant sunshine. Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends on sort of what you like too. I'm not really a big fan of the snow. I'm not really a big fan of that stuff. I tend to like the summer a lot. I spent most of my time in the summers at Jones Beach as a kid with my family. So having that environment almost every single day in Miami, it's what I like. I know, I like it. So this is the Jenga building right here. And in the right hand side of the screen, you have the beautiful One World Trade Center. Hey, J22, this is my first time in Florida. I was impressed too. My first place was Disney World. Ah, very cool. Then Tampa, Florida, then Miami. Each place was clean and beautiful. Yeah, I mean, Jay, that was the biggest takeaway for me. And again, I understand that New York City is a very, very densely compact city. I don't think you could really compare it to Miami. But I just don't understand how they keep it so clean there. Like, seriously. I consider myself, a clean person. I don't litter or anything, but I just don't even understand how they manage that. And plus, you know, if from working in the city, you know, commuting every day to Lower Manhattan in a 2-hour commute, it's nice to, you know, be able to, you know, go to Florida and just sort of cool off for a little bit. You know, touch some grass. Yeah, the ABX girl, you're right. That is so horrible. Such a heartbreaking story. You know, the Jenga building is where the former CFO of Bed Bath & Beyond. It's terrible. You know, you never know what somebody's going through, so I think it's important to always make a point to be nice to people. Doesn't matter who they are. You never know what they're going through. Has anybody been here, this Roxy place? I've never been. I think it's a hotel. Yeah, Prods is rest in peace to the Bed Bath & Beyond CFO. It's horrible. Hey, Bezita Lopez, good to see you. Yeah, big tasks is they're always shooting movies around here. They are, you're right. Hey, British Grey is here, the one and only from Tampa, Florida. Good to see you, British Grey. You know, I was speaking of real estate markets. Oh, guys, you're gonna love this. Get a load of this. Look at that view of the Empire State Building all the way in the distance there. Now, I'm not sure how good it comes out on the streams, but I can guarantee you in person it's at least a 9.7. That looks really, really nice. Somebody says, where is this? This is White Street. We are on the corner of White Street. We are headed towards the One World Trade Center. And if you look up, this is the Jenga building. Hey, Ann R says, Florida is so expensive. I live in New York and my goddaughter lives in Florida and her rent is more than mine. Yeah, well, I think Florida's a big state too. I mean, so is New York. You know, it's funny. Oh, guys, I think we're in for a real treat here. I think they just turned on the 9/11 memorial lights. Hold on, I think. Let me see. But yeah, in terms of rent, the two most expensive places you're going to get is New York City, LA, and Miami. And now, why might we think that is? Well, everybody wants to be here, right? Sort of like you got to pay to play. And obviously other more systemic reasons, but you know, basic supply and demand. People want to be in New York City and people want to be in Miami. There's a price to pay for that. But you know, I think for many of the viewers, especially a lot of our international viewers, you know, there's some parts of New York where you could buy a house for 100 grand, right? And you may be thinking, what? You could buy a house for $100,000 in New York? Yeah, of course, absolutely. But not in Manhattan. Maybe up near Buffalo, maybe up near Syracuse or Utica. Not here. So I think you just gotta have some perspective about just how massive the state is itself, right? It's not just the 5 boroughs, Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk. It's a big state, and so is Florida. Florida's huge. You could be out in the middle of the boondocks in Florida, and then you could be in, you know, downtown Miami where we usually live stream. So it's very, very different. You know, America, just thinking about how massive the United States of America is, it's really unbelievable how just massive the place is. Yeah, so Robert, that's true. Schenectady, you can do that too. You're right. Robert, what's up? Good to see you. Ann Ars is upstate New York as well, yeah. All right, so here we have it. World Trade Center. I do not think the lights are on. Hey, Rick Wolf says, hey friends, the web search said they will be testing the lights till they turn them on Sunday night to Monday morning. Ah, Rick, thank you for that, my friend. Appreciate that. Lemonade says, upstate New York is beautiful. I remember visiting Schenectady as well. Yeah, well, here's what I will say now that we're on the topic of, you know, which state is the best and things like that. I think in terms of natural resources, I think you probably can't get a better state than New York. New York could literally isolate itself from the rest of the planet and be self-sustained. Yeah, seriously. We have some of the most fertile farmland in the entire world in upstate New York. Have you guys ever heard of the Marcellus Shale? It's one of the most prosperous deposits of natural gas ever. And back in the day, there used to be these massive protests because a lot of these energy companies were going to come into upstate New York and do the fracking to acquire a lot of that gas. But they were forced out. So New York State could be totally energy independent. We could grow our own food. We have some of the most precious dairy farms in the world here. We also have the Finger Lakes, which is literally the cleanest water supply in the entire world. So if you really think about it, if I had to choose, like if I could only live in one place for the rest of my life, I couldn't move anywhere else, I would pick the state of New York over anywhere else in the world because I could drive upstate New York, go to the Finger Lakes, drink the cleanest water in the world, plant my own crops. So yeah, I mean, New York has a lot to offer. New York has a lot to offer for sure. I think this particular outdoor dining place may give the other place a run for its money too. This place is really nice. Hey, Sam is here, says facts. Good to see you, Sam. Sam, any plans for the weekend? Oh, Grand Street says New York vineyards too. Yeah, there's a lot of wineries, I guess, in upstate. You're correct. Haas Manning says, wow, I didn't know these facts about New York. Thank you. Joe Driver says, Tom, you forgot the Long Island Sound. What a jewel. Yeah, so Joe, weren't they going to build a bridge or some sort of an underground tunnel from Long Island to Connecticut, but they canned it because a lot of the Long Islanders on the North Shore didn't want all the construction noise. Those North Shore people ruined it for the rest of us. Hey, the ABX girls says New York is home to Chobani Dairy, and we have our own wineries in upstate in the Hamptons. Also true. Thank you, the ABX girl. All right, so how was my sales pitch on New York? Was that a pretty good pitch? Did I frame that right? Oh, check out this roach. Yeah, Joe's like the tunnel and the windmills got shot down. You're right, they did. You know, for those non-Long Islanders there in the chat, you know, a lot of people who live on the North Shore, they tend to be, let's just say, a little bit, well, I understand you don't want a big construction zone in the back of your house, but it's those type of people are sort of like, okay, do it somewhere else, not in my backyard, which I understand. But at the end of the day, if it's going to help the majority of Long Islanders and New Yorkers over the long term, I think you got to play ball. I think you got to negotiate it a little bit better. G Shep, good to see you. Hey, Jessica and Lisa. Says, hey Tom, in your opinion, should I keep my house valued at $985,000 as a rental and convert my two-car garage, or sell? I want to move to Nevada. So where is it in New York? Is it in New York or what? So here's what I'll say. I can't give you advice, but I could sort of frame it in the way that how are you hurting for liquidity? Like, do you need cash like right now? Because one of the good things about real estate is it has many, many tax advantages. And do you think that your retirement, like an IRA or 401k, is going to be able to supplement yourself enough in retirement? Or do you think you would need a rental property to spit off cash flow to provide you with an income in retirement? Because if you don't need to get your hands on liquidity right now, I would just use the thing as a rental, right? And as you use it as a rental, anything that you do, upgrades, things like that, you could write it all off. So, I don't know, my friends who are very, very wealthy, they all tend to have massive portfolios of real estate that they just keep and they never sell. But I think it just depends on your preference. I mean, do you need liquidity? Do you need to just cash out? Or do you want to downsize, you know, maybe purchase a single family home or a condo and just use this as a full investment property, and the thing will cash flow really nicely. Hey, English says, I'd like to know your opinion about day trading, such as binary options. I would stay away from that. Personally, I would stay away from all that stuff, to be very frank. Now, you could do... So this is Barclay Street here in Church Street. You know, if you just want to go to Nevada, right? You could 1031 exchange the deal into another deal. This way you don't have to pay taxes, or you defer taxes. But team, if you're enjoying tonight's live stream, the conversation, click the like button on the video. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. We'd like to have you here for more live streams. We're coming up on the very beautiful Oculus here outside the One World Trade Center. Hey, Sly Fox 94. It's nice to see Lower Manhattan for the change. It is nice to see Lower Manhattan for a change. You know, we're actually coming up on Zuccotti Park, and this is where the big Occupy Wall Street protests were going on. Now, I always like to talk about this particular documentary series when we're in this neighborhood. And the founder and CEO of Euro Pacific Capital and Euro Pacific Bank, Peter Schiff, actually did a very good series with Reason TV, talking and interviewing many of the Occupy Wall Street protesters down here. I would highly, highly recommend you guys check that out. But now we are right across the street from the beautiful One World Trade Center. A beacon of hope. Rick Wolf, happy Friday, my friend. And Brian, good to see you. Bagels and walks. Cheers. Ooh, Robert says, hey Tom, what do you think of reverse mortgages? I would stay away from a lot of that stuff too. And again, this is just my personal opinions on things. People could have different opinions, but a lot of that stuff could get you in a lot of trouble very fast. So this is Fulton Street, everybody, and Church Street. We're looking at the Oculus here. Yeah, Barry's like San Gennaro's Feast. I think that's next week, isn't it, everybody? The San Gennaro Festival? Hey, Rick Wolf says that Marcellus deposit is massive. I inherited a piece of those mineral rights for the natural gas. But in West Virginia, happy Friday to thee. Yeah, Rick Wolf, I think it starts in upstate New York near Syracuse, and it goes all the way down to Virginia. But there was massive protests because there was going to be huge fracking industry in upstate New York. Now, I understand the environmental concerns, but if they allowed that to happen, many people who own property in upstate New York would have probably became, let's just say, very wealthy. Very. Sort of like what happened in some of those oil towns in Texas. This is Cortlandt Street Station. You can get the R and W trains. Hey, FredX. This is Tom. Does coding boot camp attend? Well, could, my friend. You know, I'm a big fan of a lot of those coding boot camps. Usually they're like 6 to 8 weeks, and you can get a very, very lucrative opportunity from that for sure. But FredX, good to see you. So we have a little bit of a ways to go. But since we're down here, we might as well take a little bit of a walk on Wall Street. I think it's very fitting for the channel's name. Big rally day on Wall Street. You know, the indices did make some progress. We are now back above the 50-day moving average. And really the markets took off today because we had some news coming out of the EBC. So with our pal Christine Lagarde, she actually came out and said, look, you know, we're not going to provide liquidity to a lot of these energy companies. You know, that is more on the fiscal side of the house, which I actually agree with Christine Lagarde on that. However, she did allude to the fact that should the banks need it, the EBC will be there to provide liquidity. and the markets took off like a freaking cannonball, like a rocket ship, because that is the stability that the market is looking for. So if we think about it, and we explained this earlier in the stream, but if we think about the difference, right, between quantitative tightening and quantitative easing, when central banks around the world, not just at the Federal Reserve, but the ECB and in Canada, are easing, they're providing liquidity to the banks, and the banks can then lend that out to people like me and you. We buy things, we buy cars and houses, and it churns the economy and it keeps things rolling. But during quantitative tightening, what they're doing is they're removing liquidity from the system. And we've been having a very illiquid or potential illiquid market here, especially in the credit markets, causing a potential credit crunch. And I think that's why we've been seeing bond yields spike here. So I think that simple nudge from Christine Lagarde to say, look, we're going to be here to provide liquidity for the banks. That's what the market likes to hear. But I still don't think we're out of the woods just yet. I think Fed Chair Jerome Powell made it very clear that monetary policy is going one way, and that's tighter. Speaking of the Federal Reserve, my friends, here we are, right here. If we cross Broadway, this is the Fed. Best Bets TV says, do I recommend energy stocks? So I don't technically recommend any stocks, but I think this energy trade is pretty much done, if you had to ask me, in my opinion. You know, I wrote about it in the Behind the Street newsletter like 4 months ago. I said, I think you should be scaling out of your energy positions here, if you have any. If you guys do want to sign up for my free investing newsletter, usually every Tuesday after the market closes, I'll send out my thoughts on the US equity markets, emerging markets, fixed income, and the like. So if you scan the QR code, punch in your email, you'll be signed up to receive it for free as we approach closer here to the Federal Reserve. But I mean, if you look at the price of crude oil, it's pretty much fallen off a cliff, right? We hit a high of about $130 a barrel. That was back in March. Now we've come down to $90 a barrel. And I think a lot of this news, specifically as it relates to natural gas, with the whole Russia situation, Ukraine situation, I think a lot of that price action is already baked in. So if you noticed, when Russia announced that they were going to shut off the spigot at the pipeline, natural gas actually went down a bit. So I think I think a lot of this stuff is already baked in. You know, crude oil is all but rolled over. I think that's going to put some downward pressure on inflation, or at least the headline CPI number, which is good. Wow, check out the New York Stock Exchange from here. So if you look all the way down, you'll see the huge American flag. And that is the New York Stock Exchange, my friends. Hey, Cynthia Beal says, Tom, I went to Occupy Wall Street to see what was up. Saw quite a few young people streaming nightly. They seemed very organized. Yeah, I mean, I think Occupy Wall Street was a good movement until it got sort of corrupted. But at the end of the day, it's really not the banks that you should be protesting. It was the Federal Reserve that allowed a lot of this craziness to get out of hand. You know, it's sort of like the Federal Reserve is providing the punch bowl. So sort of have to cut off the head of the snake. You have to have the Federal Reserve stop doling out the alcohol. And the alcohol is quantitative easing and artificially suppressed rates. So here we are, beautiful Wall Street, New York Stock Exchange. Now, the New York Stock Exchange isn't what it used to be, everybody. Because very, very little trading activity actually takes place right here anymore. You know, it's pretty much just like a glorified historic site and a TV studio. Much of the trading activity actually takes place in New Jersey, not here, and that is due to algorithmic trading, quants. And that's why you've noticed over the years, a lot of the financial firms, the broker dealers, and the investment banks, they've actually migrated uptown to places like Park Avenue and Times Square. Because back in the day, if you really think about how stocks were traded, it was physical pieces of paper being passed back and forth. And after the introduction of the internet and electronic trading, you could pretty much be anywhere in the world, right? Not everybody needs to be down here on Wall Street. And I think the last bank that was physically on Wall Street was Deutsche Bank, which is a German bank. And now they're not even here anymore. They've actually migrated uptown to the very famous Time Warner Centers, which is now called the Deutsche Bank Tower. We'll actually walk right past Deutsche Bank tonight. Hey, Andy is joining us. Good to see you, Andy. Welcome. So my old office used to be right next to the Deutsche Bank. And I would see all the bankers and the traders walking around. But now that building is going to be completely empty. So this is Federal Hall. You'll notice all the scaffolding around Federal Hall. It's actually going to be up here for 10 years, if you could believe that. 10 years, this scaffolding. Hey, Dusty Coles' amazing match at the US Open right now. Who's playing? Hey, Joseph says, hey Tom, tornado warning just taken down from my area in Jacksonville, Florida while watching your channel. Thanks, Joe. Hey, Joe, good to see you, man. Thank God there's going to be no tornado in your neck of the woods. Glad you're safe. Hey, it's AK. What's up? Says, I'm surprised it's going to be that long at Federal Hall. AK, welcome back to New York. Hopefully you're having a fantastic time so far. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you'll probably get a chance to come down here, but yeah, it's going to be up there right around Federal Hall. You can see Trinity Church all the way in the background there, but it's going to be up there for 10 years. 10 years the scaffolding is going to be up there. What hotel? I don't know. Sorry about that, man. I have no idea what that is. Ed Cooper's here. Good to see you, Ed. This is actually a pretty good shot of Trinity Church. You can see the Cipriani over here. Yeah, and the end says 10 years. So if you guys pull up another window or another tab, you type in Occupy Wall Street, Deutsche Bank, you'll see a very iconic piece of film or footage here, right on the corner of William Street. There's all bankers standing up on the balconies here, laughing at all the protesters. It's a very, very iconic piece of cinematography. Is that a right word? Because it sort of really outlines the class divide and how egregious and how terrible the great financial crisis was. because at the end of the day, the taxpayers bailed out all the banks, right? So all of these banks got bailouts, and some of these investment bankers walked away with record bonuses. Now, granted, if you worked at Lehman Brothers and you had, $12 million worth of stock in Lehman, because if you're an investment banker, much of your bonus, oftentimes it's not all cash bonus, right? Oftentimes, 50% of your bonus will be made up in stock, 50% may be cash, or however they want to dole it out when you get to that level of managing director. So think about all the MDs that were working at Lehman Brothers that had $12 million on the books, and they woke up the next day and they had absolutely nothing. But this is the Deutsche Bank right here. What was the Deutsche Bank? They have since moved uptown.
Have you in the vlog?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey. It's called Walks on Wall Street. We do a live stream where we walk around. Yes.
On Instagram?
No, on YouTube. It's called Walks on Wall Street.
All together?
Oh yeah, Walks and Wall Street. Yeah.
Oh, Walks and Wall Street.
Yeah. Well, thanks, dude. Enjoy New York City. Have a good weekend.
Good night.
Hey, see you later.
I got you right now. Subscribe.
Oh, thanks, man. Be safe. Yeah, so this is what used to be the Deutsche Bank here. And now, they are all the way up at the Time Warner Center, now the Deutsche Bank Towers. But just think about that for a minute. If you were a managing director, you spent 20 years of your career working at Lehman Brothers, a big investment banker, you're a managing director, maybe you at the time had, $12 million to $20 million worth of company stock. That's what you were going to use to retire. And that particular stock was not vested yet. You woke up, Lehman Brothers went to zero, and your net worth was totally wiped out. So if you look back at that particular video, it's a very iconic sort of moment to show the wealth divide in the country, right? Because if you think about who took the brunt of the hit during the great financial crisis, it really wasn't Wall Street, it was Main Street. Many people lost their homes. Many of these homes went back to the banks. This is what many people don't understand. So let's say if you were an individual, you had a mortgage, and unfortunately you were coerced into an adjustable rate mortgage or an ARM. And when interest rates started to go up, so did the rate on your mortgage. Then you were hit with this massive balloon payment. You saw a wave of defaults all at once. Those homes just don't go to, housing heaven. They go back to the banks. Okay, and the banks can use that as collateral to then resell, and make money off of it. So there's an old saying that, if you have a mortgage, you technically don't own your own home. It's, the property of the bank. So, and that's why during that Occupy Wall Street interview with Peter Schiff down at Zuccotti Park, one of the things he was saying is, look, you shouldn't be directing your anger at these investment banks. Direct it towards the Federal Reserve that was dishing out all of this liquidity and providing all of this craziness, or as they like to call it, the punch bowl to the party. But there were a lot of end the Fed people, a lot of libertarians during that time down at Zuccotti Park. But I think at times it can get off the rails and warp into this sort of like socialist type project. All right, so now we're on the corner of Wall Street, 110 Wall Street to be exact. There's actually a WeWorks office right here where we sometimes stream from. But this is my old office from back in the day. Now it is a hotel. It used to not be a hotel, but now it is a hotel. Yeah, Quinn says, I agree, Tom, many bankers should be in jail. Well, I think it was on C-SPAN, Quinn. Remember the hearings that they did? There was one notable MD, I believe he was from Goldman Sachs, and one of the congressmen is reading a transcript, and they were literally selling their clients, quote unquote, can't swear on the stream, but the S-word deal. How much of that itty deal did you offload to your clients? Because you know, all of these mortgages that were no good, these subprime mortgages, they would just collateralize them and sell them off to investors. And they knew that these were extremely, extremely high credit risk. But that didn't stop Wall Street from making a product to sell it to their clients when they knew that there was egregious default risk there. But anyway, I think that's a topic for another stream. Hey, Destructionist, thank you for joining tonight. Please have a fantastic weekend. It is Friday. Be safe. But you know what, everybody, I really do miss working down here. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I'll tell you a really quick story. I know you guys don't like my stories, but Maiden Lane, one of my good buddies that I went to college with, I convinced him to take a job here working for the New York City Department of Investigations, the DOI. And at the time, I don't think their office is here anymore. I think somebody in the chat works for the Department of Investigations. But I don't think their office is here anymore. But at the time, it was right here on the corner. And I convinced him to take a job only because I worked down here. And every single day during lunch, we would go right here. I'm actually gonna take you guys where I used to go. We used to go to South Street Seaport. It was a blast. And now my friend actually works in Nürburgring Berman, so did a complete 180 in his career. You know, went to work for government, now works on Wall Street at Nürburgring Berman. We stream outside of that particular location all the time. The only thing I don't like about Lower Manhattan is the winter. The winters down here are brutal. If you've ever worked on Wall Street down here on this specific street, it is brutal working down here. Yeah, Brain XTC, what's up? Says The Big Short deals with that bank crisis. Very good movie. Yeah, that movie does a very good job with explaining sort of the market mechanics that led up to the great financial crisis. You're 100% correct. And R says, Tom, you should teach an in-person investment class in New York. I'd be the first one to sign up. Well, you could subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever do any teaching, but yeah, we do these streams. We usually have the streams go on for 2 hours, and you know, I enjoy them. I learn a lot from you guys too. Hey Mustafa, what's up? Long time no see. He says, yes it is. The whole city, especially Lower Manhattan. Yeah, if you live, you know what, we'll take a little detour. So we're going to the Manhattan Bridge. But I want to show you guys around South Street Seaport. We haven't been here in a long time. And it's actually quite nice down here too. Marcy, what's up? Says Tom, also Too Big to Fail was a good movie about the 2008 recession. Too Big to Fail. I'm going to check that out. I don't think I've ever seen that. So thank you for that recommendation. I appreciate it. Hey Lisa says, you remind me of fishing bait from the way your camera bobs up and down. Well, supposedly the new iPhone that came out, the iPhone 14, has a built-in stabilizer, so you don't have to use a gimbal. But I'm not too sure how that's actually going to work with live streaming, because what a lot of people don't know is whenever there's a new product or piece of hardware that comes out that has new features, all these developers of these apps have to then go in and adjust their applications to work with that hardware. So I think it's going to be very kludgy at first. So this is Pier 16. We are overlooking the skyline of Brooklyn, New York now. I think we have to put a little bit of pep in our step, everybody, if we want to make it to the Manhattan Bridge. I think we got a little bit off topic, but it's good to get off topic, I guess. So South Street and Fulton Street. Yeah, we should be able to see the full moon. Gary's like a rejected Mayflower. Cindy Foley says Buffalo is very windy. I'm now in Texas. We're in Texas. You know, we have a lot of viewers from Dallas, Texas, and also Austin, Texas. I was in Austin probably 2 months ago. It's a nice city. Hey, time lapse. Tom, I remember my first job near here at a huge financial company. How'd you like it working down here? So time lapse, we were just talking about how the Deutsche Bank is all vacant now down here on Wall Street. They moved to Columbus Circle. So now there's pretty much no real major banks here. You know, it's all Park Avenue, you know, JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon building his new headquarters there on Park Avenue. So. Hey, Shiva's here, says, hey Tom, what street are you on? This is Fulton Street. But this is the South Street Seaport area of New York. Oh, GE bought and sold them. Interesting. Kibber Peabody. Very nice. That's awesome. You know, now that a lot of the broker-dealers and financial firms have moved uptown, a lot of the office buildings are now converted into apartments. You know, I remember when I worked down here, they were just converting 95 Wall Street into apartments. And I think they converted them into all luxury apartment buildings too, or luxury apartment units, I should say. So if you go on Zillow or something like that and look at 95 Wall Street, you'll see just how crazy nice those apartments are. So you could see the full moon, it looks nice. Hey, Sad says, hey, it is 8:13 a.m. in the morning here. Love that, thank you for joining. Savi says, I'm in the capital markets. Or Marriott's. Cynthia Beal says, Tom, why not take the train back to the station? I don't know. I like to get the road work in. Austin City Limits says, Tom, it doesn't bother him how much he walks. All right, I think we're just making 20% battery here, so we gotta move on. So we'll walk down this street. We'll head up to the Manhattan Bridge. Hopefully we'll just make it. When we get to the Brooklyn Bridge, we'll assess the battery level, and if it's too low, we'll just go on the Brooklyn Bridge again. Because I think I got a little bit too sidetracked on the stream. I apologize. The ABX girl. This is Shadow Shock. I remember Kipper Peabody. And Thompson McKinnon was also there. So I want to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on this? You know, yesterday EY announced that they've essentially decided they're going to move forward with the split between their consulting business and their auditing business, right? So I think the theory behind that is that they feel as if they can grow the business and increase profitability and grow revenues more when those two particular parts of the business are separate, because they don't have to worry about those conflict of interest laws, right? So I believe if you have an auditing customer, or if you're a customer of EY that they do audit, obviously you can also do or offer them other products and services in the consulting business, because that would obviously be a huge conflict of interest. Now, I think Accenture went through the same thing. I think they split up. And if you look at revenues for last year, they were between KPMG, between EY and Deloitte. I think all four of the major consulting, accounting firms, or whatever you want to call them, reached new all-time record highs in terms of their revenues and profitability. And EY's thoughts are like, look, we could probably double our business and double our profitability if we could split up successfully. Now, assuming this all goes well and they actually do split, I believe they hired Goldman Sachs as well as JP Morgan to take them public in Q4 of next year. So in Q4 of 2023, they're going to go public, the consulting part of the business at EY. So assuming that all goes well and they do go public, I think that is when the fees will be payable. So if the deal doesn't go through, I don't think EY has to pay those fees to the investment banks. But we'll see what happens. Hey, Iris Lou says, good evening, Tom. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Good to see you, Iris Lou. Welcome. Brian says, EY made a good decision because these two businesses can now focus on specific service. Sly Fox says, Deloitte said it's better for them to have auditing and consulting still. Well, I was reading an opinion piece, and the opinion piece, and you guys probably know about this better than I do. I'm not in consulting. I didn't work at the Big Four. But the opinion piece said that Deloitte and KPMG is going to use this opportunity to poach a lot of the employees of EY, right? And now that's not exclusive to consulting, right? They do that in tech. You know, I was actually poached away from another tech company. But the theory there is, you know, as all of these organizational changes happen, it's probably going to cause a lot of animosity in the business. And then, you know, KPMG can come in there, Deloitte can come in there and steal away some of the, you know, the talent at EY, which I think is probably going to happen, but maybe it's a little bit overstretched. I don't know. Hey, Ed Dunkel. Ed, what's up? Says maybe, but I bet a lot of clients are looking for auditors that can look the other way. This is Ed. Happy Friday to you, Ed. Oscars is planning to move to Long Island. Which place do you recommend? I would recommend like South Shore, Massapequa. Well, if you have a family of four, like little kids, then maybe Jericho. I think Jericho is a very good school district, Oceanside. So if you want to put your kids in the best school district, I would suggest maybe Jericho or Oceanside, perhaps. I believe those two districts may be some of the best in the world, or in the country, excuse me. Jericho and Oceanside Public High School. Roman Sid, what's up? Roman, welcome and thank you for joining tonight. It says, good evening, Tom. Always good to watch your live streams. Ed Dunkel says, hey, Tom. Yeah, I think Ed is an accountant, so he probably knows better than us. But I just think it's interesting because it's pretty much split down the middle. A lot of people think that this whole EY split is going to be a disaster, but at the end of the day, I think the people who are going to walk away with a massive, massive payday are the partners at EY. I think there's about 13,000 partners globally. I think many of them are set to walk away with, multi-million-dollar paydays. So, I don't know. We'll stay on top of it. It was just a story. But I think they're going to go through it. I think it has to go through a vote, though. I think now that they've decided to do it, I think the 13,000 partners have to vote on it. First name, last name. Is Long Island more convenient than New Jersey for commuting? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Big traffic jam here. Hey, Blues Writers, is audit and consulting are separate businesses and should be segregated, but revenues will be segregated too, and the merger consultants probably have bigger upside, but audit revenues are very stable. Copy that, Blues Writer. So, Blues Writer, I think this same exact thing happened with a couple others, right? I'm blanking on the other one, but I know Accenture did this for this exact reason. But there was also another big firm. I forget the name. I'm blanking on it. Every time we come up on hour 2 on the live stream, my brain starts to deteriorate a little bit. Hey, GN says New Jersey is much more convenient for commuting. I just moved to New Jersey from Long Island. Yeah, maybe you're right. But I don't know. I've lived on Long Island pretty much my entire life, and it's very easy for me so long as you live in close proximity to the LIRR. And that's another thing. I don't drive. So for me, I just take the LIRR. So check out this view of the One World Trade Center here. Hey, Louis Shorts is visiting for New Year's, family of 5, never been. What's one thing we should do? Visiting for New Year's. Well, man, what's one thing we should do? Oh, let's let the ambulance pass. So I would spend a lot of time on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I think you're gonna enjoy that particular feel of the city. It's gonna be very different than the touristy Midtown areas. So I would recommend anywhere between 66th Street. Well, they're really blaring on the horns back there. Anywhere between 66th Street and 86th, I think you're gonna enjoy a lot. You know, the kids will be able to go to the Museum of Natural History. It's beautiful over there. You're gonna be right on Central Park. Also, if you wanna go to Riverside Park, very seldom do tourists ever go to Riverside, but Riverside is lights out, man. It's like 10 out of 10. Beautiful park, mostly local New Yorkers there, very few tourists. I think you're gonna have a nice time there. Also, it's right on the Hudson River too. So the Upper West Side has the best of both worlds because I think we have to go up one more. Yeah, I don't think we can cut through there. But that's what I do. I'd also take the kids to like Koreatown. I think the kids would love that. There's a lot of cool things to do in Koreatown. We'll try to cut through here. If we can't cut through, then we'll have to end it. But I don't think we're gonna make it to the Manhattan Bridge tonight. I think the phone may go out. Wow, it's so peaceful here. You can hear the crickets chirping. This is Madison Street. Dusty Cole's like, yeah, I could hear the casadas, yes. Ah, Blues Rider, okay, copy that. Back when it was the Big 8, it actually sucked. Yeah, big corporate BS. But those are, very sought after positions. Usually, especially, if you go to school in New York and you want to go into business, many people want to go into investment banking, or I want to work at one of the big four, right? But I think a lot of that talent has actually been pried away by tech. Many people now say, I want to go sell software for Palo Alto Networks. I want to go work at Salesforce and be a software engineer at Google or Uber or something like that. So I think a lot of the raw talent is being slowly but surely sucked away. And I think not for nothing, FredX. I think as the emergence and adoption of cryptocurrencies comes to the forefront, obviously a lot of that stuff right now is very fraught with fraud. But I think down the line, that is probably going to be an additional sector in the S&P, are these crypto type companies. And we're already seeing the infrastructure for that be built out. I think what needs to happen now is the regulatory clarity, right? And I think Gary Gensler has been rather lacking on that. I think that's a pretty fair criticism, in my view. But I think a lot of that stuff is coming, and I think that's good news. We've been seeing a lot of heavy hitters on Wall Street actually leave traditional investment banking, sales and trading to go work in the cryptocurrency environment. A lot of the times when we're live streaming up near Alliance Bernstein, in that building there was there still is a very notable hedge fund, Fortress Investments. And that's actually where Michael Novogratz really made his standout start. Obviously, before that, he was a Goldman Sachs managing director. But then he left Fortress to start his own venture, which is now called Galaxy Digital. And he actually recruits and poaches, now that we're talking about, KPMG, Deloitte poaching EY employees. That's what a lot of these cryptocurrency firms do, is they poach investment bankers, people in tech. And I think a lot of that stuff is going to continue too. So I think the world is going to look a lot different in 10 years, a lot. So Manhattan Bridge is right this way. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have time to go over it. I think my phone is going to die. Blues Rider says, in my honest opinion, big firm gigs are just pyramid schemes for very few partners. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Yet another great stream, Tom. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you so much. I've heard a lot of my friends that went to law school say something similar. You go work at a big law firm and it's really, really taxing, in hopes to one day be a big partner. But I guess you could say that about anything, right? Hey, Sly Fox 94 says, totally agree. Good to see you. Big Task says, Tom, your next stream is Monday, right? No, so we should be live tomorrow. We should. Saturday is usually our chill stream. We don't have a conclusive topic as it relates to finance. But Sunday is our Markets a Look Ahead stream. So we should be live tomorrow. We should be live. I don't see why not. But if you guys enjoyed the live stream so far, feel free to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you're new, so you could always be notified when we go live. We're almost at the Manhattan Bridge. 2 more blocks. 2 more blocks. Blues writers like be a bartender, you'll live longer. You know, it's interesting, blues writer. That's actually a very thought-provoking comment, and I'll tell you why. I think the job where I got the most joy out of, and this is gonna sound crazy, but it's true. When I look back to the position that I had when I was working, where I got the most joy out of it, it was a position called a service agent. Okay, so when I was a teenager in college, I worked at a rental car company, and my job was when the people would return the rental cars, I would have to vacuum them out, I would have to wash the cars, drive them around the block, get them gas, and that was my favorite job ever. Now that I think back to it, it was just the particular time in my life, it was great. The people I worked with were hilarious. And at that point, I was making $9.25 an hour. Can you guys believe that? In New York City, as a part-time job at the time, I was making $9.25 at the time as a service agent. But for some reason, it was a blast. I would always look forward to coming to work every day. And that was actually my lowest paid job ever. So we'll do one quick lap through Chinatown, and then we will call it a night, because I don't think we're gonna have enough juice in the battery to go over the Manhattan Bridge, unfortunately. I know, Marcy. Oh my God, that is such a good. I'm gonna frame that quote, print it out, and put it up on my office wall. The worst jobs have the best coworkers. In my experience, you're 100% right. That's hilarious. Dude, that is so. Why is it like that? The worst jobs have the best coworkers. Now, I like the people who I work with right now, and at my other previous job, I mean, I like those people, but man, nothing compares to that first job I had there. And I was literally washing cars and vacuuming cars. Why do we think that is? Maybe it's because as you grow and you make more money, people can get a little bit jaded maybe, and they're under a lot more stress. I don't know. Yeah, Marcy wins the comment of the night. That's hilarious. Yeah, Marcy, I'm gonna screenshot that, print it out, and hang it up on my wall. I'm serious, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put it right above my my computer there. Hey, Dan Zhang is here. What's up, Dan? This is Hey Tom. Once again, all the bubble tea are closed in Chinatown. Yeah, they are. That is a bummer. They should have a 24-hour bubble tea place. Hey, Aaron is here. Good to see you, Aaron. You know, speaking of bubble tea, this place is actually pretty good. Miss Stu's Bubble Tea Shop is fantastic. I've been here. So it's open from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Wow, I like the logo. The logo is pretty cool. Check that out. I think the logo looks very nice amongst all of the paper lanterns. I think it looks really nice. Penelope's here is like, I'm still cooking, ignore me. Well, everybody, when we turn the corner here, I do have to end the stream. I know what you're thinking. Your eyes are starting to water up. You're like, this was the best experience of my day. The Walks on Wall Street stream, my dopamine hit is going to go away. But it doesn't have to go away for long, because we will be back live tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. and we'll have a good time. We'll walk around. There's going to be no topic for tomorrow, so we'll get some time to relax. Maybe we'll go to the Upper West Side. I don't know. But on that note, everybody, thank you so much. Marcelo, Marcy, appreciate it. The LT Prod.